Hey everybody, this is Juan Marshall. Yeah, I posted a post on Facebook. It's the boxing silhouette, and it shows the fighters is in black and white. I talked about how fighters choose to box and boxing doesn't choose them, and that's completely correct because that goes in any aspect of certain things. But a lot of the times, when fighters decide to box, they need a clear understanding, especially when I'm talking, especially when they make the transition from an amateur into becoming a professional fighter. It's a lot of things. More on the amateur side, they're learning the craft basically on the amateur side. They develop from being some of them start when they're like 4 or 5 or 6 in the gym until they're able to fight at the age of 8. When they can be able to compete. And a lot of times that's when they learn the fundamentals, the techniques and things like that. And sometimes as a kid, certain fighters separate themselves as being a higher level or a better quality fighter at the amateur level, which excels them to be a better professional fighter. So what I wanted to tell them is when they make that choice to become a professional fighter, it's a lot of things that go into this other than just being in the ring, and doing what you have to do to win fights. And a lot of that stuff is mechanical basically, muscle memory and things like that, far as being in the ring, knowing how to throw punches, knowing how to defend yourself. The thing that separates professional fighting from amateur fighting is the business of the sport. And a lot of fighters, they already have what it takes to be a good professional fighter, far as to win fights. But the upside of that is if you know the business and how to market yourself and how to develop yourself and put a good team around you, you can become a fighter that stands out amongst the best. And based on marketing yourself and having people around you that can help you market yourself to be that great fighter. And I can just name different fighters, but people that know boxing already know who some of the best fighters are and who and where they are, when it comes to the sport of boxing and things like that. But it's just when it kind of frustrates me because a lot of fighters they don't they don't have or get what they need to make them a better fighter because they want to stay in this bubble, the bubble of people knowing who they are, the bubble of being popular, the bubble of being making a little bit money so they can flash a little bit more and buy things that they couldn't buy before. But it's more about the future of your life, because as a fighter you only last until you in your maybe mid 30s to late 30s if you have a good career, and a long lasting career, and you're in your late 30s. But I always tell fighters the average retirement age for your ordinary working class citizen is 65, or 30 years of working at a job, to retire. For a fighter, you can make a lot of money within a 10 to 12 year span. Sometimes you become multimillionaire in that short period of time. So the fighter that doesn't have that successful career, if he's 35, 36 years old, let's say he's 35, he still has another 30 years to work so he can create a different, a better retirement for himself at a regular working class citizen job, basically. And that's what they need to understand. If you want to be a great professional fighter, you want to be that one that can retire at a young age and to have money to support your family, that where you don't have to go to a 9 to 5 job. You really have to take advantage of the opportunities. That's why it's so important to have the right people around you to understand what you need. And that's the most important thing. As a professional fighter, you have to sit down with your team and map out a blueprint of the direction you are headed in, because everybody has to be on the same page. That's in life and everything. And in life, I want people around me that are headed in the same direction that I am. It doesn't have to be financially, but to me, it's more of the same spiritual walk. And if I know I'm having people around me that don't that since I don't drink, I don't smoke, I want people around me that don't drink, that don't smoke. I can be in an atmosphere of people drinking and smoking, but I know I won't be pushed to drinking and smoking because I'm hanging around a group of people in that same environment. Even better yet, I have people that really won't even go to that environment. So it's it's a big deal when you're talking about this sport of boxing, because in sports alone, athletes, the careers don't last long. You're talking about in their 30s and they're retiring because they have younger kids coming in the early 20s that come in and take over the sport. So in boxing, this area, man, and even in the sport alone, I only say this area because I live here, I cover boxing here. So I don't want people to keep saying, well, that happens everywhere, Juan, this, and this, and that. Yeah, I know it happens everywhere, but I concentrate on what happens here. And because I'm from here and what I see here and things like that. And we have world champions here. We have some of the best fighters from this area that are world champions, and we have some of the fighters that blend in with world champions and with some of the best fighters in the world. So we have it all in this area. So when it comes to fighters, young fighters to the older, experienced fighters, make the right decisions, because inside the ring is only the production and the avenue of what you have outside of the ring, and that's where you need to be. So when you're in the gym, you concentrate on being that person, getting your body physically fit, getting your body in shape, having that trainer tell you what you need to do and how you need to do it, and you follow that. And that trainer is there because you want him there, and you trust him to be there for you. And yeah, we have situations where trainers change. That happens in the sport of boxing, period. But that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is the fact that you need to make decisions based on the blueprint that you map out for yourself, because your career only lasts up to maybe, like I said, 10 to 12 years as a fighter. Some people go longer than that, but I'm talking about being one of the most successful fighters last, and because they're able to blend in with some of the world title fighters. If you're not one of those world title type caliber fighters, your position. Even at that point, if you're not a world title fighter and your position in this sport is to be a opponent for a fighter, take advantage of being an opponent. It's prize fighting. Go get the money, but you smart when you do it though. You got to stay smart. If somebody offers you a certain amount of money that you've been making in the previous amount, and if it's a fight you think you can go in there and do your best and come out healthy, take the fight. If it's about the money, because if you at a certain point in your career, you haven't advanced at a certain age, by a certain age, pretty much you're going to pretty much flatline, and you're going to be at that level all the way across the board until you say, I'm not fighting anymore. And those fighters are known about already. Those fighters already know, promoters and matchmakers already know who they can call to make a fight. So you might be one of those ones that's on that list. So take advantage of it if you need to make the money. We have some fighters, not I say we, but the sport of boxing has fighters that made good money off of being in training camps, being sparring partners. That's how they make their living. So the thing is, as a fighter, when you make that transition to become a professional fighter, you have that blueprint mapped out of how you want to do it. And if it doesn't work a certain way, you have a plan B, a blueprint. To how things could possibly get you back on track. Just like you go into a fight with a game plan. If plan A don't work, you can revert to plan B, and you have a plan C. And if plan C don't work, you trust on the eye of your trainer to spot out some things that you can do going into each round that you can take advantage of. That's what comes to having a good trainer. He's looking out for you. Becomes a chess match after that. So, just fighters, take advantage of the opportunities that are presented to you, because those windows are very small in this sport. And And promoters and top managers, they ride on who's selling tickets. They ride on who's a great competitive fighter because they're still winning. That's what they ride on. And you got to take advantage of it and always stay ready for these fights. And I'm not going to do too many of these videos anymore because I'm just going to stay to the fact of giving results on my blog, just who wins the fights, who loses the fights, and when fights are coming up, on things like that. So I'm concentrating more of being Juan Marshall than being pro and fight talk. So that's where I am with this, man. Get you a fighter, a professional fighter. Get yourself a good team. Get yourself a solid, structured game plan that you can build off of, and take advantage of the opportunities that present yourself. And there you have it.